or they'd tell me 5 things to do, and I'd remember 3.
It's a lot.
It was a challenge in every way, and I think it was designed to find everybody.
I don't care what caused the cracks in that family or why things fell apart. One thing is clear. We were never truly good together. You might have seen the infamous scene on Sister Wives. The one where Kody supposedly takes Aurora to get her ears pierced. A moment meant to look tender, a milestone, a sweet father-daughter memory. But let me stop you right there. That scene wasn't reality. It was pure fabrication crafted to tell a story that never actually happened. Today I'm pulling back the curtain, my friends, to reveal the truths behind what really went down. Welcome back to Brown House Secrets. Let's talk about ear piercings, but not just as jewelry. These little studs became symbols of control, favoritism, and the hidden dynamics of a fractured family. Here's the real truth. I never wanted my daughter's ears pierced when they were young. So imagine my shock when the show portrayed Kody escorting Aurora like it was some pivotal, heartwarming milestone. In reality, her ears had already been pierced years earlier, long before the cameras rolled. There's undeniable evidence. Photos, family drawings, even Robin's own sketches, show Aurora wearing earrings. Why stage something that already existed? Because this wasn't about earrings. It was about crafting an image, enforcing control, and sending messages about obedience and rebellion within the family. And it all shifted the moment Robin entered the picture. Let's rewind. When I first married Mary, she didn't even have pierced ears. I even took off my own earrings to align with her values, to fit a mold Kody demanded. Janelle had hers pierced, but she stopped wearing them after marrying Kody. Christine had 2 piercings, but discarded her earrings too. Earrings were never mere accessories, they were statements. Rules, expectations, and control all tangled together, and Kody positioned himself as the ultimate enforcer. Then Robin arrived. Initially, she followed every rule. No earrings, minimal makeup, demure clothing. She wanted to be seen as the good wife. But soon something changed. Robin began wearing heavier makeup, skimpier clothing, and yes, earrings. Suddenly, Kody no longer seemed to care. This quiet rebellion signaled a seismic shift. As Robin's freedom grew, so did the allowances for the other wives, and the rules became inconsistent, unclear, and deeply unfair. Now here's where the story becomes even more twisted. When the other wives tried letting their daughters choose when to pierce their ears, they faced scolding and accusations of disrespect. Robin, however, presented herself as the devoted rule follower, crafting the narrative that she was the model mother. Remember that sweet moment with Aurora? The show made it look like Aurora waited patiently for Kody's approval, a heartwarming daddy-daughter connection. In truth, it was carefully orchestrated. Only one parent could attend, and surprise, Aurora chose Kody. This was no accident. It was a deliberate rewriting of history, an effort to manipulate perception and enforce loyalty while painting a distorted image of who was favored in the family hierarchy. And the irony doesn't stop there. Kody could happily go get earrings with Aurora, yet he couldn't sit through his daughter Christine's spinal surgery. The disparity is gut-wrenching. The original children noticed, acutely aware of their place in this carefully controlled drama. Add television cameras, life in Las Vegas, and the relentless pressure to maintain an image, and the lines between real life and performance blurred entirely. Robin even used the show to reenact a nostalgic personal memory from her childhood. What should have been private became a public display, nostalgic for her, uncomfortable for everyone else. Watch closely next time you see a sweet moment on Sister Wives. The tension, the rehearsed excitement, the over-the-top clapping, Aurora's forced skipping. It all feels off because it was. Kody's attempts at calm, his forced emotional responses. They're not genuine. He's acting, performing for the cameras, not parenting. Even his lines, "Aurora has honored my authority as father," sound convenient, perfectly scripted. What we see is not a milestone, but a meticulously staged scene designed to glorify Kody while subtly reminding the other children of their position. The facade only worsened after Garrison's sudden passing. Grief was transformed into performance. Kody spoke of sorrow coursing through his esophagus as if anguish could physically blast from him like a projectile. Every gesture, every word, seemed rehearsed, a one-man stage show amid genuine mourning. Robin, predictably always on camera, performed alongside him. Dreams, cowboy monologues, and dramatic reenactments of a train journey with a coffin. All of it created a narrative far removed from authentic grief. The entire family was trapped in a public performance, where true emotion was drowned beneath melodrama, elaborate costumes, and the carefully constructed illusion of sorrow. The takeaway is simple. When watching these episodes, look beyond the smiles, claps, and tears. The spectacle may appear emotional, but it is anything but real. Behind the scenes lies manipulation, favoritism, and an unsettling display of control. And it's time we start seeing it for what it truly is. Drama staged for the cameras, not genuine familial love. Sometimes, the most revealing moments are the ones that happen off camera, in the silence, in the pauses that nobody thinks to capture. That infamous line, "grief coursing through his esophagus," is the perfect example. On the surface it sounds poetic, maybe even profound. But in reality, it's absurd, medically impossible, and yet it perfectly encapsulates Kody Brown's entire approach to emotion. Theatrical, exaggerated, performative. It's as if he studied every soap opera monologue ever written, cherry-picked the most melodramatic phrases, and decided they were the ultimate measure of grief. But real sorrow, true grief, is nothing like that. It doesn't follow a script. It doesn't wait for cameras. It's messy, jagged, suffocating, and intimate. It's the kind of feeling that leaves your hands trembling in the middle of the night, that wakes you gasping for breath, that lingers in your chest long after everyone else has turned away. Grief is private. Grief is raw. And Kody? He turned it into a performance, a show meant to impress the audience rather than process a loss. And the contradiction becomes even more glaring when you realize just how little relationship Kody actually had with Garrison. He admitted it himself. He wasn't present in his children's lives. He dodged conversations, physical affection, moments that really mattered, except when Robin was conveniently in the picture. Then suddenly, the man who avoided real connection was transformed into a philosopher, a tragic hero, pontificating on grief with all the gravitas of a tragic movie star. Trains, sunsets, dreams, metaphors stacked upon metaphors, all designed to signal profound emotion to the world, while the people who actually mattered, the siblings, the mother, were left on the sidelines, largely unseen, largely unheard. And that recurring dream Kody kept referencing? Garrison supposedly instructing him to stop playing melancholic music? The story seems carefully selected to pull at the heartstrings of a specific audience. Mormon viewers who may still hold him in some reverence, even though he has publicly abandoned the religion. This was not an act of personal reflection or spiritual connection. It was a calculated emotional manipulation. It's a hallmark of narcissistic grief. The focus is not on the person lost, it's on how the narcissist wants the world to see their loss. The cameras, the edits, the narrative, they all exist to feed the ego, to position Kody as the misunderstood, solitary patriarch, the lone cowboy enduring tragedy with stoic bravery. But real loss isn't a photo shoot, isn't a monologue. It doesn't involve posing with designer boots and turquoise jewelry for cinematic effect. Real loss is invisible, intangible, and entirely unperformable. And then there's Robin. Just as rehearsed, just as controlled, just as carefully scripted. Her reactions are mechanical, her sympathy almost robotic. She mirrors Kody's performances, adding a layer of polish to the facade, ensuring every scene looks heartfelt for viewers who have no way of knowing the truth. Step off the script and she seems completely lost, unable to navigate genuine emotion on her own. In this performance, love isn't unconditional, it's transactional. Obedience earns praise. Loyalty guarantees attention. Deviate and you're cast as the disobedient, rebellious child, sidelined by narrative choices. That's not love. That's control masquerading as affection. An intricate web of emotional manipulation designed to keep power concentrated in the hands of one man. And here's where it gets even more unsettling. Kody's grieving wasn't really about Garrison at all. Every word, every gesture, every symbolic reference was about himself, about maintaining his image, preserving his story, and performing a version of grief that made him look heroic, poetic, and misunderstood. The real victims, the family, the children, the siblings, the mother, were left in the shadows. They were observers to a man performing his own narrative, turning private tragedy into public spectacle. Every sigh, every tremor, every carefully timed pause was less about emotion and more about optics. Kody Brown was acting, and the toll of that performance was exhausting. Not for him but for everyone around him who had to watch it unfold. Then came the showdown that fans had been waiting for. A tell-all confrontation on national television. Kody, so accustomed to bending others to his will with dramatics and intimidation, suddenly met someone who refused to back down. Sukanya Krishnan, calm, poised, professional, navigated his ego like a master matador facing a raging bull. Kody's usual tactics, tantrums, dramatics, emotional intimidation, fell flat. He stammered, he flustered, he struggled. This was a man used to absolute control, accustomed to everyone yielding to his performance. And suddenly that control slipped through his fingers. It's fascinating to observe Kody around men who won't defer to him. He visibly struggles, unsure how to respond, flustered in ways that reveal his deep-seated insecurities. Recall when he called David devastatingly handsome. That wasn't admiration. It was discomfort, confusion, and vulnerability masquerading as charm. He doesn't know how to navigate respect that he cannot command, how to interact without the ability to dominate, manipulate, or perform for approval. Place him next to a confident, grounded figure, someone like Alan Richardson or Jason Momoa, and watch him crumble. He wouldn't know whether to puff up with false bravado or retreat behind his carefully curated image. The man who controls narratives on Sister Wives suddenly loses his footing when faced with truth, authenticity, and someone who refuses to bend. And that, perhaps, is the most revealing truth of all. Beyond the tears, beyond the dramatics, beyond the rehearsed speeches, lies a man terrified of losing control. Not of his family, not of his relationships, but of the story told about him. Every performance, every poetic line, every symbolic gesture was a desperate bid to maintain dominance over perception. This wasn't mourning. This wasn't fatherly grief. This was a meticulously staged drama built to protect ego, image, and illusion, leaving real love and real sorrow buried beneath layers of performance. And anyone watching closely can see it. The cracks, the manipulation, the emptiness behind the bravado. Kody thrives on control, but not in subtle ways. His domination is emotional, relentless, and theatrical. He interrupts, mocks, postures, and manipulates, all while expecting women to yield, apologize, or justify themselves. But place a strong, confident man in the room, someone level-headed who refuses to bow, and Kody immediately falters. He either tries to bro out, awkwardly, desperately attempting to assert dominance through forced camaraderie, or he completely unravels, exposing the fragility beneath the cowboy persona. And that, frankly, is exactly what needs to happen. For years, Sister Wives has allowed his misogyny to flourish on screen. The condescension, the shifting of blame, the I am head of this household bravado. These traits are baked into the show, woven into the narrative, but producers have the power to stop giving him soft targets. Spaces where he can manipulate, intimidate, and dominate without challenge. He doesn't need applause. He needs someone to call him out, someone willing to push back and hold him accountable. Sukanya Krishnan did exactly that, and it was remarkable. Calm, poised, professional, she did more than merely hold her ground. She commanded the conversation. She didn't flinch when Robin parried with all the precision of a politician running for office. She asked hard, uncomfortable questions about Kody, about Janelle, and about the inequities within this fractured family, refusing to let Robin or Kody redirect or deflect. This is what accountability looks like. For decades, Kody has weaponized anger to avoid responsibility. When confrontation fails, he pouts, he threatens, he launches into lengthy monologues designed to intimidate and distract. The audience has long been trained to see him as imposing, as commanding, as someone who must be handled with caution. But confront him with someone like Sukanya, someone who refuses to be manipulated or coddled, and the cracks immediately appear. Watching Kody around men who won't defer to him is even more revealing. He becomes awkward, unsure, flustered. A man who thrives on validation suddenly deprived of it. Remember when he called David devastatingly handsome? That was no innocent compliment. That was discomfort masquerading as admiration. He does not know how to interact with someone who refuses to bend to his whims, someone confident enough to challenge him without fear. Place him across from a host like Alan Richardson or Jason Momoa, and watch him crumble. He wouldn't know whether to puff up in false bravado or retreat behind his meticulously curated image. For all his bluster, Kody is terrified of losing control, not of the family but of the story told about him. Every monologue, every performative sigh, every symbolic gesture is a desperate attempt to maintain dominance, image and influence. And then there's Robin. Her presence, scripted and controlled, adds another layer to the performance. Her reactions are almost mechanical, as if reading empathy from a teleprompter. Step off script and she falters. Her measured displays of emotion are transactional, a reflection of obedience and loyalty rather than genuine affection. Together, Kody and Robin craft a duet of performance. One orchestrates, the other mirrors, creating an illusion of harmony while concealing the fractures beneath. They perform grief, love, and devotion like actors in a play, carefully calibrating every gesture for the cameras. And the real victims? The other wives, the original children, the family's foundation. They are relegated to supporting roles in Kody's carefully staged narrative, witnesses to a drama masquerading as life. The tell-all confrontation made all this painfully clear. Kody, so accustomed to manipulating women, so used to controlling narratives with tantrums and monologues, finally met someone he could not dominate. Sukanya's poise, her refusal to yield, her sharp questioning revealed the man behind the mask. Someone whose control is fragile, whose bravado is performative, and whose emotional awareness is shallow at best. Watching him attempt to assert himself only highlighted his weaknesses. For decades, female hosts had to absorb his insults, maneuver through his condescension, and tolerate his theatrics. That routine, however, no longer works. The man who believes the world revolves around his validation is forced to confront someone who simply doesn't care. This is the reality. Sister Wives is unraveling because the illusion cannot withstand scrutiny. Kody's narcissism, Robin's scripting, the favoritism, and the staged grief are all laid bare. No longer can cameras, editing, or careful planning hide the fractures. Each act, each deflection, each carefully staged line exposes the toxic dynamics that have plagued this family for years. The tell-all didn't just entertain. It shocked, exposed, and revealed the truth behind the image. What viewers saw for so long as intimacy, devotion, and love was often performance, manipulation, and control. The cracks. They're no longer hidden. They're widening before our eyes, undeniable and impossible to ignore. Imagine this. Kody Brown sitting there trying to manufacture connection where none exists. He suggests a guy's trip with David, Christine's husband. Pause. Think about that. Was anyone in that room thinking clearly? Did TLC, anyone on production, consider that this was incredibly tone-deaf, manipulative, and awkward? Of course not. They were too busy orchestrating drama for the cameras. Christine didn't want this. David certainly didn't want this. And we, the audience, we really did not want this. But here was Kody at the center again, attempting to reclaim relevance in a story that had long moved on without him. This isn't reconciliation. It isn't closure. It's a calculated attempt to make Kody appear central, sympathetic, misunderstood. A tragic anti-hero in a narrative that no longer fits him. Let's get brutally honest. This entire setup is offensive. It's undefined, meaningless theater masquerading as real emotion. The show attempts to create artificial closure for the sake of ratings, for nostalgia, for TLC's bottom line, not for the participants themselves. These people have moved on. Their lives, their families, their emotional investments are no longer intertwined with Kody's. Yet, production drags them back into the studio, forcing awkward interactions, rehearsed laughs, polite dismissals, and moments designed to make Kody look human again. Watching him try to pitch this guy trip is painful. He flounders, exposed, disconnected, desperate. It is a flash of raw, unmasked Kody. A man who is completely unaware of how irrelevant he has become to the people he once claimed as his world. David and Christine's response? Polite, precise, measured. Chef's kiss satisfying. They shut it down with professionalism that Kody could never navigate. Watching Kody's expression, that brief, flickering moment of realization, he could not control the narrative. He could not manufacture agreement. The truth hit him. He is no longer the center of attention, no longer the one wielding influence, no longer the star of a story he tried to write alone. It was priceless, long overdue, and painfully satisfying to witness. Yet even with these confrontations, we continue to see sad reruns of what the show once promised. Plural love, resilience, and family connection. Instead, the episodes now revolve around awkward funerals, unresolved resentments, and individuals desperate to be left alone. The OG wives, Janelle, Mary, Christine, they have closed their chapters. Janelle and Mary have literally cut ties, finalized property disputes, closed out Coyote Pass and reclaimed their lives. Christine pursued past child support claims against Kody and won. Public co-parenting? Non-existent. Emotional investment? Gone. The storylines, the connections, the family foundation, all dissolved. And yet here is Robin clinging to the remnants, trying to maintain control over a crumbling empire. She asks for guarantees from Kody, guarantees in a system where no guarantees exist. Polygamy is not a contract of permanence, loyalty, or fairness. It is a risk, a gamble, an exercise in trust and sacrifice. But Robin expects promises. Promises that she will remain the preferred wife. Promises that she will maintain control over the children, that Kody will never attempt reconciliation with his other wives or their kids. She wields these expectations like a shield, protecting herself from the reality of shared history and the consequences of inequity. She may not have demanded all this overtly, but she never refused it either. Meanwhile, the other wives, seeing the writing on the wall, made a rational choice. They departed. Not out of malice, not out of a need to punish, but because they were marginalized, ignored, and treated as leftovers while Robin claimed the banquet. The power dynamics, favoritism, and performative loyalty forced them to walk away. And yet, TLC continues to push the narrative, attempting to manufacture tension, create artificial closure, and keep viewers engaged by forcing the illusion of family where none exists. Now let's be clear. Kody's performance is no longer grounded in reality. His attempts to remain relevant, whether through awkward guide trips, faux reunions, or manufactured emotional confrontations, highlight just how disconnected he is. He is a relic of a system that has long moved past him. The original children, the original wives, even the audience, they see through the facade. Every attempt to centralize Kody, to recast him as sympathetic or misunderstood, fails. And yet the show persists, a cash cow for TLC, extracting nostalgia, controversy, and viewer curiosity, even when the story has ended. Robin, on the other hand, has perfected the art of strategic loyalty. She did not demand overt power, but she seized opportunities, accepted advantages, and leveraged her position. She observed as Kody drifted further from his other wives and children. She tolerated favoritism because it benefited her. She clung to the illusion of family while navigating a system that inherently favored her once Kody had made his choice. The rest of the family? They recognized the imbalance and chose to depart, leaving Robin in control of what remained. She may not have created the system, but she capitalized on it ruthlessly. This tell-all exposes all of it. Kody's manipulations. Robin's calculated compliance. The departures of Janelle, Mary, and Christine. The illusion of plural love and family unity now fully shattered. What remains is transactional, performative, and emotionally hollow. TLC continues to broadcast remnants of a story that no longer exists. Every awkward scene, every fabricated reconciliation, every attempt to force connection highlights just how fractured this family has become. And the audience is left to watch the aftermath of a family empire collapsing under the weight of favoritism, control, and staged appearances. Kody's relevance is fading, Robin's control is contingent on the remnants of TLC's platform, and the original family, those who built it, loved it, and sacrificed for it, have moved on, leaving only the echoes of what was once a compelling narrative. What we witness now is not family. It is theater. It is a cautionary tale about manipulation, favoritism, and the perils of placing image above genuine human connection. And for those of us watching, the truth is clear. Sister Wives is no longer a story of plural love or resilience. It is a story of power, performance, and the consequences of playing favorites. As we move deeper into the unraveling of this family saga, the reality becomes painfully clear. Sister Wives is no longer about plural love or family bonds. It is about control, manipulation, and the desperate maintenance of an image that no longer exists. Kody and Robin, once the center of a vast family network, now operate in a world stripped of its original foundation. The original wives, Janelle, Mary, Christine, have long moved on. They have reclaimed their independence, their voices, their property, and their emotional autonomy. The houses are sold, disputes settled, child support arranged. Co-parenting has been privatized, invisible to the cameras. What remains is the illusion that Kody still matters to anyone beyond himself. Robin's quest for guarantees epitomizes this illusion. When asked if she still believes in polygamy, her hesitation speaks volumes. She clings to promises that cannot exist. Preferential status among wives who no longer interact with her, unwavering loyalty from Kody, guaranteed centrality of her children, perpetual control over family dynamics. These are fantasies, not reality. Polygamy, like life, is never guaranteed. It is a delicate balance of trust, sacrifice, and shared responsibility. Yet Robin leverages the system in her favor, strategically navigating the collapse around her. She did not create the favoritism, but she exploited it with precision, solidifying her position while the others departed. Meanwhile, Kody, desperate to remain relevant, attempts to manufacture connections and orchestrate scenarios that place him back at the narrative center. The infamous sky trip idea with David was a test, a pathetic attempt to see if anyone still wanted him around. It failed spectacularly. David and Christine's polite, precise rejection was not just satisfying, it was a mirror reflecting Kody's irrelevance. No one around him is willing to play the scripted game anymore. The original wives refuse, the children are disengaged, and even the audience has grown weary of these manufactured interactions. Kody's desperation is on full display, but no amount of theatrical sadness, cowboy monologues, or symbolic gestures can restore the control he has lost. Watching this unfold is like witnessing a slow-motion implosion. The show, once a testament to plural love and resilience, now chronicles a family empire collapsing under the weight of favoritism, manipulation, and staged appearances. Kody's performative grief, Robin's strategic positioning, and the absence of emotional authenticity from the remaining cast highlight a sobering truth. The family is fractured beyond repair. Every awkward funeral, every contrived reunion, every attempt to reclaim relevance underscores just how disconnected they have become from one another. TLC continues to broadcast these remnants for ratings, nostalgia, and controversy, but the core story, the human connections, the genuine struggles, the authentic love, is gone. What the viewers are left with is transactional drama, a shadow of a family that once was. Kody's ego remains intact, but his influence is diminished. Robin retains control, but only within the confines of a system she manipulates. The original wives are free, independent, and no longer tethered to the dysfunction of this collapsing empire. And yet the show persists. Every half-hearted reunion, every staged interaction, every forced conversation is a reminder of what has been lost. The cameras capture a family attempting to exist on memory and legacy rather than reality. They attempt to reconstruct a narrative that has no foundation, a family that no longer functions as a unit, and a story that has already concluded. Kody's attempts to centralize himself, to reclaim sympathy, and to restore relevance are increasingly transparent and hollow. He is no longer the patriarch of a thriving plural family. He is a man clinging to fragments of a world that has moved on without him. This is where the shocking reality hits hardest. The collapse of Sister Wives is not sudden. It has been building for years. Favoritism, unequal treatment, staged performances, and manufactured narratives created fractures that could not be repaired. The original wives saw it, recognized it, and made the only rational choice: to leave. Their departures were not acts of rebellion but acts of self-preservation. They removed themselves from a system that favored Robin and allowed Kody's ego to dictate dynamics that were never fair. Robin's guarantee-seeking highlights another uncomfortable truth. She seeks a safety net in a system that inherently cannot provide one. Polygamy by nature involves compromise, negotiation, and trust, but she demands certainty. She holds on to promises that do not exist, using them as leverage to maintain her position. Her children remain central in her narrative, her influence over Kody continues, and her ability to exploit the remnants of the show persists. Meanwhile, the original wives and their children operate outside the system, free from performance, free from manipulation, and free from the constant need to validate Kody's ego. TLC's role in this cannot be ignored. The network has continued to enable this cycle of control, favoritism, and performative grief. By keeping Kody and Robin in the spotlight, they create a false sense of drama and continuity that no longer aligns with reality. Viewers are drawn into a spectacle of manipulation and ego, watching the remnants of a once functional family perform roles that were never authentic. The cash cow remains profitable, but the heart of the story, the real connections, the struggles, the love, is gone. Ultimately, the final chapters of Sister Wives are defined not by reconciliation or growth, but by awkwardness, disconnection, and the inevitability of closure. Kody's attempts to regain relevance fail. Robin's strategies succeed only in the short term, and the original wives live beyond the stage, beyond the cameras, beyond the drama. What remains is a cautionary tale. The consequences of favoritism, manipulation, and prioritizing image over genuine connection are irreversible. Sister Wives, as it exists now, is a study in family collapse under the weight of ego and control. It is a chronicle of favoritism rewarded, loyalty exploited, and emotional manipulation normalized. The original family is gone, replaced by a hollow performance, and the audience can no longer ignore the cracks. Kody and Robin may continue to play their roles, but the heart of the family, the love, the unity, the authenticity has disappeared. What remains is a cautionary, shocking, and dramatic lesson in the cost of placing ego above everything else. As the cameras fade, as the episodes end, one truth stands clear. The family is over, the story is finished, and nothing can restore what has been lost. Robin's strategic control, Kody's desperate performances, the departures of the original wives, all of it culminates in a narrative that is shocking, sad, and undeniable. The legacy of Sister Wives is no longer plural love. It is a testament to the dangers of manipulation, favoritism, and the relentless pursuit of control. The audience, the children, the wives, they have moved on. Only the performance remains, and with it, a story that is finished, dramatic, and unforgettable.